Hey everyone, let's check out this 2025 Chevrolet Equinox LT all-wheel drive that I have as a rental car at the moment. So they just redesigned these for the 2025 model year. So let's take a peek at this redesign. Starting up front here, we have these kind of split design headlights right here. So the turn signal and daytime running light is going to be this one right here. And then the actual other lights are down, the main lights right here, projector LEDs, and then we also have some fog lights. They're all LEDs from what I could tell, and they light up the road pretty nicely. You can have a little Chevrolet script in there. Coming up to the front, this kind of follows kind of current Chevrolet SUVs, so they all kind of look similar. I think the Blazer kind of started with this whole split design. The current Traverse has a similar approach. Suburban's kind of dabbled with it, so it looks pretty good from the front end in my opinion. You can also see here we have front camera for the 360 camera that's on this one. This one does have the convenience package. And underneath the hood we have a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine that is largely, if not completely, carryover from last year. This power plant has something in the realm of 175 horsepower and 203 foot-pounds of torque, if I recall correctly. No struts, just a prop rod here. Look down in there, there's the turbo right there. Pretty compact design, fits in here pretty easily. Kind of glaringly open right there and there. But overall, yeah, fine looking engine design. It is, however, pretty slow when you actually get it out in real world and the usage, but I'll cover that on the actual driving portion. Finishing up the look at this front end, we do have some cool hood design here where it kind of swoops down in there and kind of bulges out to the outside, which is a nice design look in my eyes when you kind of get it from this angle here. You can see how this just all kind of comes up and it's just kind of a strong, powerful line. It does impede on visibility a little bit. I'll show that off here in just a bit. But visually it is quite striking. Side here we have these kind of this ruggedized look to this. So we have the black plastic cladding all around, which doesn't always age the best, but is kind of the current trend. Down here we have our Michelin Primacy all-season tires, and these are wrapped on these 17-inch wheels. The tires are 235/65 R17 if you're curious about sizing. They have a kind of a pretty standard design, a light gray coloring to them, and then machined off here on the actual face. This rental car is missing all four of these caps for some reason. Not totally sure why someone would remove all those, but yeah. Continuing on down, we have the 360 degree camera right there. Not a ton of visual interest here on the side. We do get to the naming right there, which is kind of scripted out like that. Is kind of feels out of place, if I'm being honest. It does have keyless access and kind of the smart access key system. It's all based on this button here and no actual sensors on the inside, which is what I typically prefer, but it still works just fine. Continuing our way back, we have kind of some interesting lines here going on right here, as well as how this swoops down in there. And then also this kind of the floating roof design that they're trying to get with that piece right there. This is mostly plastic on the inside. It's kind of interesting how much glass this looks like it has, when in reality, like this all right here and then like this all right here is all plastic on the inside, so you get very little visibility. I'll show that off here in just a bit. This one does have the roof rails on it. Pretty classy look though, with the kind of silver and this gray color that it's in here. On the back we can see our Equinox all-wheel drive badge right there, and then we have these all LED taillights on the side. Let me quickly light those up so you can see what they look like. We don't get any exposed exhaust tip or anything like that, or any tow hitch, but we do get rear parking sensors. Does have a power liftgate, which exposes the about 30 cubic feet of space back here. It's a good size for a compact SUV. We do have all LED lighting on the inside, and underneath this tray right here we have what looks to be a block charger, I believe, and then underneath that, if I pull this out, we do have a temporary spare. Always a nice touch. The final kind of feature back here is we do get this 12-volt power outlet. We do have, interestingly, two different cameras. So we do have this one right here for the backup camera, and then this one, I'm assuming, for the 360 camera. I don't think this has a virtual rear view mirror. But kind of closing out on this rear end, it looks good. Pretty crisp. It does look pretty fresh. Just kind of a miniaturized version of current SUV, like Chevrolet SUV styling. And it looks pretty good in my opinion. Now taking a peek into the back seat. Here's the rear door. It's pretty dark. We do have this to kind of brighten it up just a little bit with the chrome trimming. This is a softer touch material. Not soft touch, it's cushioned, I guess. It's kind of this rubberized material all up through here. This is hard touch. We have our power rear view mirrors and some good storage down there along with our door speaker. Going to how we get in. This door doesn't open quite as wide as some of the competitors, but it still opens pretty wide. This is sitting behind me at 6'4", and legroom here is tight. I do fit. Going on that side behind my 5'4" wife would be pretty comfortable, I think. The rear seats have something in the realm of 40 inches of legroom. It doesn't really feel like that, if I'm being completely honest. It feels more of something in the line of 37, 38 inches. But it is relatively comfortable. We do have good headroom here. We do have our rear lighting and our oh crap handles on both sides. Coming down here, focuses. We do have two USB-C ports as well as rear HVAC, and then even a little bit more storage down in there. We do also get two mat pockets. This is the black Evotex material. It's kind of like a vinyl, leatherette material. Seems pretty easy to clean. It is perforated as well, which helps with not sweating quite as much. This model does not come with the cooled seats. We then have a rear center armrest, which is pretty comfortable and also features two cup holders. With that being said, let's go ahead and head up to the front. Taking a look at the front door materials, got a little bit more popping up here with this piano black material trim right there. Probably will scratch pretty easily though. Otherwise, the materials are the same as the back, that cushioned armrest, but pretty ruggedized material. Some good door storage. We also get the trunk release right there, as well as all of our window switch gear, as well as our mirrors. So we do have power auto up down just for the driver's side window, and then our lock controls right there. Taking a quick peek at the seat here. This one does have an 8-way power adjustable seat on just the driver's side. The passenger side is all manual. That comes in that convenience package. And then this one here has 1,205 pounds of payload. Now stepping into the car, you can see our animation as it starts up. Go ahead and start it up. Continuing on with our interior here, we have these really cool vents on these sides. They have kind of this cool material on the inside, and just overall these look really cool. Here we have our parking brake, our all-wheel drive switch to actually lock it front to rear, I guess. That or the rear is just continuously disconnected until you hit that button. I'm not totally sure. We have our auto hold button right there, and then our auto stop start, as well as our dimmer switch. Now coming to this steering wheel, in terms of the controls on it, we have our adaptive cruise controls here on the left, and then on the right over here we have our heated steering wheel control, also our little stuff to kind of interface with this screen here, and then some media controls as well. Just kind of talking about the steering wheel itself for a second. The heating function works really well. Heats up the entire wheel, and honestly really hot, to where it's almost too hot to touch. Like, not literally, but it's a little too hot to be actually comfortable. Kind of wish it was 2-stage if it is going to have that kind of higher heat to it, but either way it works really well. It's also a really big wheel. You can see I kind of have to pull the camera here way back. It is also really thick. It doesn't have any bolsters that I can feel, but it's also really high quality smooth leather. Definitely one of the highlights of this car is the steering wheel. It's nice and chunky and good to hold on to and use essentially. Going to the back of this, we have our wiper controls right here, and then on the right side we have our gear shifter. Not a huge fan of it being like this. It does free up the center console quite a bit here. I'll show that in just a bit. But not a huge fan. I'm kind of getting used to it already, so I'm sure you get used to it over time. And then on the back of this steering wheel, we also have these paddles, so to go up and down on our 8-speed automatic transmission there, as well as our seek buttons on the back on the left, and then our volume buttons here back on the right. Now coming to this digital display behind it, it's not super big. I'd reckon it's in the realm of 9 or 10 inches or so, and it's also pretty far forward this way. It's not kind of in a little bin, so it's pretty close to you. It is relatively high definition. It says our range there, all-wheel drive status, mile per hour, some gauges, stuff like that in this mode. And then if we click this button right here, we can kind of cycle through these different modes. So we can go here, we can see Google Maps. You can see they did this with pretty nice integration on the Google Maps front. However, if we switch again and we use Waze, for example, you can tell they did not integrate this very well. It's got some weird white stripping there and there. And then when you actually put in directions, it will, like I was using this yesterday, it will cut off anything that's on the bottom. So like your ETA, how many miles are left, things like that. So definitely not incredibly integrated in that front. And it's also a little small. It's definitely still 100% usable. But compared to the other products such as Cadillacs and stuff like that, it's where it's massive. It does feel a little on the smaller side. We can continue through. We have also this kind of mode right here that you can use, as well as just a pretty calm mode. So it's pretty laid back in terms of that stuff. And then back to this original one right here. We also can scroll up and down and set our different like favorites for music and other things like that. Now coming here to the center stack, sorry about the glare. We can see we do have our power and volume button right here, and then all of our quick switches down here for things around the controls and safety, and then our, so basically a lot of the physical controls that are just here in the screen all the time. So like your lighting is here all the time, for example. So you can see right there, which a lot of people complain about that. I always just kind of set mine on auto, so I don't particularly care. With the fog lights though, it's interesting. You'd have to come in here to turn those on. And fog lights are not something maybe you always want on, so that would be a little bit more annoying. So at least if they would have had a fog light switch, no big deal though. We also have our CarPlay button, our Maps button. This is with the Google Maps. And then we have our music button right here. And then our kind of a split screen, kind of multi-user thing. And then our basic home one, where we have all of these settings right here. We also do have in this, when we put it into reverse, we do get a 360-degree backup camera with good resolution, pretty decent stitching. It has some interesting things, at least on this particular one. And then we can of course switch our different views here from front to back, as well as, zoom into the front or the back. And then a couple other things such as, to see here we're parallel parked, be pretty nice to be able to see that like we're seeing. We can see just that. And then we can also see, I don't know what that does actually. Oh, just probably the grids for the main top view. Moving on from there, heading down a bit, we do have a lot of physical controls here. So if we were to turn this on, you can see we actually do have our dual zone climate. Turn that back off so it's not too loud. But we do have the dial readouts right here, and they look really good, crisp. I love how they kind of come out, how they do. So overall, just good design on these, and especially on those vents and the ones on the other side as well. But coming back to this real quick, so we have our heated seats on both sides. They are 3-stage. We have our auto, it's only 1 stage of auto. And then we have our fans, and then to synchronize these two to be the same temperature. We have our on-off switch, AC switch, a couple other, where do you want the air to be going, our recirc button, and then our 2 defrost, so front and rear. Coming down below that, we have a USB-C and USB-A port, along with kind of a good sized tray here that fits a couple phones, a huge wireless charger that kind of goes way down in there. This one worked really well on our trip. It really rarely disconnected. It's pretty big, so you could put a really big phone in there. Even past like the size of the current Pro Maxes from an iPhone 15 Pro Max, for example, which is what I have. And you can see all this also has this kind of rubberized material, that stuff that a phone case, for example, sticks to really well. We have our 2 cup holders right here, and then a little bit more space here as well. Opening up this, pretty decent sized center console. It goes down really far. It's a little bit on the narrow side. This is not very comfortable. It's a little rattly as well. It doesn't have too much cushion. It has this rubberized material that's kind of, you know, same as the here on the doors as well. It's just kind of over this entire interior, which gives a very rugged feeling, but not a super high premium feeling. So depends on what you're after. But yeah, finally coming to this center to the glove box. It is damped, but not lined with felt or anything like that. Good size as well. Here we have our rear view mirror. And we see we do actually have a digital rear view mirror. So when I was showing earlier, the 360 one, it might use this. But in general, this is the digital rear view mirror. I didn't even get a chance to use it yesterday. But always a nice touch on these when you have people in your back seats, right? So if you don't want to be staring at them, you can use this instead. And then also looks like it has some stuff for garage door openers. We also have our sunglasses holder right here, our OnStar controls, and then we have our mat pockets. And you can see these have dual lights, but these are not LED, or maybe they are, but they're kind of like the softer, warmer color. So that's a nice touch. One final thing to talk about in this interior is just the fact it has this kind of center console pass-through right here, which is probably allowed by the fact that it has this shifter, you know, on the console right here. Super big though, and super convenient to have that. So that's also a very nice touch. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.